good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're viewing this program from. Welcome to another broadcast of Competitive Edge. And of course, the focus of the Competitive Edge is really to help you in business or in life to attain your competitive edge. So, on this program, we're going to be bringing a whole lot of information that is going to help you to master your competitive edge. Today, as usual, I have three dynamic personalities in studio. I have Peter, I have Paul, I have Shivani. And collectively, we are going to be bringing our A game to ensure that you have the kind of information to attain the competitive edge in business and in life. Now, what I want to say is that if you have a friend in business or a friend in life, I want you to invite them and tell them that the competitive edge is on. So whether they're going to work or they're at home, just chilling with a cup of coffee or a glass of orange juice, tell them that the competitive edge is on. All right. And there's going to be a lot for them to take away here today. Today, we're looking at the face of self mastery. And if you're a master in self, you're a master in nothing. So, we're going to go deep into that concept today. So, as usual, I'm going to ask my team to introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Shivani today. Shivani, can you tell us a little bit about Shivani? What makes Shivani Shivani?
Hi, morning, Gary. Always nice to be here. And who am I? I'm all about solving challenges. And I believe that the best way to do that is through project management. If you have that type of mindset, you'd be able to solve challenges. So that's who I am, the person who would like to solve challenges. I'll People will say that I live for chaos. I don't like to say that openly, but it may be true, right? So thank you, Gary.
Got you. You're a problem solver. All right, I'll now come to Paul. Paul, can you just give us an introduction of yourself? Who is Paul?
Good morning, everybody. I really like the way Shivani ended that. That was excellent.
Certainly so.
Yeah, my name is Paul Whitehouse from Northeast Ohio near Cleveland, and I like to help people. What we help them with professionally is financing for their business, putting together the best package and lowest cost of money. Personally, I knew the word, and I guess I considered myself this before Gary really started underlining it, but I consider myself a humanitarian and I want to help people. And I'm a believer in our creator, most important of all. So that would sum me up right there.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Peter?
Right. So Peter Richard Gus Scott Sr. is the name. My focus, what I like to look at is how we will be remembered. When you reach a certain age in your life, you look at legacy, contribution. The world is in a very bad state, and it is one thing for us to complain about what is happening in the world. It's another thing to be a solution. And because of that, we have designed what we call the Legacy Chronicles uh, publishing program that assists individuals to find their message, to develop their life story as a solution to the problems in the marketplace. Additionally to that, if we're going to be a solution to the marketplace or just in life, in at an individual level, then it's important for us to have a plan. Just to jump at anything at all, um, you want to do it in a meaningful way. And so, what we encourage individuals to do is to have a master plan. And how do you design a master plan? You look at where you're coming from. Look at your life from your earliest memory, and there's a lot of data information that will come when you begin to look at your life, where you're coming from, because it will give you a better understanding of where you are. And as you look at where you want to go in the future, all that data from your past will give you information on where you want to go. So we encourage pastors. My focus is pastors, ministry leaders, career professionals, and entrepreneurs. And so if you know anybody who's a pastor, ministry leader, a career professional, or aspiring entrepreneur, this is a place, this is a program for you.
All right, thanks for that share, Peter. I just want to make some announcements and then I'm going to come to Paul again. Um, in 2024, we're going to be starting a very signature initiative. We want to have a team of 100 loan brokers. We're going to be training those folks to understand money. And we're going to be training those folks to go out there and find people that really need capital to purchase their first home or to grow and scale their business. Um, we want to provide training for 100 persons. So I want to encourage you to stay tuned and to this program, keep following this program. Because you don't have to have a master's degree or a doctorate degree to be trained to become a loan broker, all right, a loan consultant. Follow us and we will continue to give you more information on how you can become the bank. And you can help your friends that you know need their money to go buy their homes. You can help your friends that you know need money to go start a business or scale a business. And what better business to be in than the business of money, making money available to your community. So you're going to learn so much more about this. So just keep following us and stay there. You're going to get a lot of information. With that being said, I want to come to Paul. Paul, can you talk to us a little bit today? But before we get into, a topic talking points today, the face of self-mastery, can you talk to us a little bit about financial portfolios so the general public can get an understanding as to what some of those portfolios are?
Yes, Gary, definitely. Well, as far as the loan consultants training people to be loan consultants, subjects that we will be training them in will be equipment financing, how to finance equipment for a business. Most often it's equipment leasing. And just because you hear leasing, that does not mean that you don't own it. You do own it at the end of it, because there's two equipment leases, one designed for ownership and one designed just for use. So that, and then we move to investment and commercial real estate financing. Factoring, if you've never heard of that before, that's a financial program to improve cash flow. When you're in business and you deliver a product or service to another business, typically you're offering 30-day terms. Pay me in 30 days. Well, if cash flow is tight, that's not going to work so much, especially for a growing business. So factoring would be a company that we represent will come in, they will purchase your invoices, they'll buy them from you with an 80% advance. So next day after you perform the service or deliver your product, 80% of your invoice is advanced to you. That's your working capital. That's your keep going money. That's your keep growing money. The other 20%, which you're probably going to ask, which I would too, that comes to you when your client pays the invoice minus a fee. 1 point, 1.5 points, up to 3 points, depending on volume that you do annually. Then there's purchase order financing. You have a big order. Let's just go real big. Walmart ordered 1 million pairs of shoes from you, and you have to supply it, but you don't have the money. You got to buy those from wherever you're buying them from, China, somewhere, hopefully made in America. But you have to buy the product. You've got to buy it to deliver it. And you don't have the money. What are you going to do? You call us because you're approved. What does that mean? That means a purchase order financing company is going to step in. They're going to cover all the costs for manufacturing and shipping to get it to the door of Walmart or whoever your customer is. So the order's complete. You get the deal done. You get paid. Walmart gets their shoes. PO financing company charges a few points for the service. But essentially, you've got your big brother in the background stepping forward, fronting the money for you so you can get that deal done. Um, Capital raises, Securities and Exchange Commission compliant capital raises. That's very important. You need to hear that when you're talking about raising money, because if you don't, that means the person that you're working with doesn't know, doesn't care. And if they don't know or don't care, then you got problems if you're raising capital. There's a right and legal way to do it. Let's fine tune that a little bit more. Not only is there a legal way to do it, but there's a more efficient way to do it with a better outcome. And that would be raising debt and equity. Some industries you can only raise equity in, but a lot of industries, specifically if you're building a factory like the one behind me, you can maximize low cost debt, minimize high cost equity. I'll go into that at a later date, but those are the subjects that we will be teaching you how to present to business owners who are in need of capital, and we can all profit greatly from this. Money, I like the way one of my lenders says it. Money's our inventory, and we need to get it off the shelves.
Certainly, my friend, certainly. So there you had it. And guess what? Um, we're going to train you guys in this area. And there are a few institutions out there that are training you, but guess what? They're going to charge you about $50,000 to train you in this program. It's not that 50,000 is high, because with the right training, you could make back this money within a month or 2 or 3 months. You can make back this money in a short period of time, and so much more. But guess what's going to happen here? We're going to train the first 100 person at no cost to you. We're going to fund you. All right. We are going to fund you. So again, stay tuned, and you will learn so much more in terms of how you can position yourself to benefit as a loan broker, either a personal loan broker or a corporate loan broker. We have the expertise, we have all the support to ensure that you win in whatever you're going to be doing. So stay tuned and to learn more. Keep following us. Reach out to us. All right. We want to position you for great things in 2024. Okay. Now, I want to talk very briefly now about a signature project that we are doing, and that signature project is called um, the the bestseller portal. So, in the event that you have never heard about the bestseller portal, I want to talk to you today about the bestseller portal. Why? Because you need to understand what is the bestseller portal. It's a unique platform of learning. This platform, what we do, we help rising stars who are authors to go to bestseller. And what we do, we ensure that the readers, you're getting the best quality of books to read from, to learn from, and to study from. Now, I want to encourage you, if you're in business, to go to this website. It is the bestsellerportal.org. And I want you to navigate your way over to products. When you navigate your way over to products, you will see on the left hand side a number of menu. All right. The menu that I want you to click on now is ebooks. Now, when you click on ebooks, you will see a number of books here titled Master the Sales Communication Process. Today you have, I think it's nine books that is published here. Yesterday we talked about the push and pull factors of sale, and you have books here that talks to you about what is the pull factors of sale and what is the push factors of sale. If you go to volume 8 and volume 9 and you get your copies of these books, you will learn what this is. Now, there are other benefits why I'm encouraging you to get these books, because one, I want you to register as a member. All right. As a member of the bestseller portal, and this is free. When you purchase these books, what is going to happen? You're going to get a free program in sales communication. So you will learn about A to Z and how to position yourself to be a better sales communicator. But that's not all. We have other programs. Just before I come to the other programs, to register, all you need to do is to put in your name, email address, telephone number, tell us your interests, others. And with that, you just press send. It comes to us. We have that data. We reach out to you and ensure that you remember, and you can be a lucky person to start winning. Again, to go through our training programs are very costly, um, but you too can win fully sponsored training program in the sales communication process. We have another signature project that we call the High Net Worth Investors Guide. And if you look on screen, you will see the logo here, the High Net Worth Investors Guide. It's a unique platform of learning. All right. You want to learn how to prepare yourself for success. All right. Because it's better for you to be prepared for success than success to reach you, and you're ill prepared for that. We talk about that so you have a clear mental picture what preparation looks like. We also talk about how, the smartest ways to apply yourself. Some people prepare themselves, and you become so over prepared you never apply yourself. And if you're not applying, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be prepared. You want to apply, you want to know that your knowledge, your expertise, your skill sets can touch and transform the lives of people in a positive way. We go into all of that. We also talk about management. As you acquire wealth, how do you manage wealth? And last but not least, we talk about wealth expansion. Regardless of where you are in your financial success, you just don't want to become complacent. So on this platform, we talk to you about ways of expanding, your income streams. Perhaps it might be looking at things like, various financial instruments. What is bonds and stocks and mutual funds and hedge funds? What is smart investment portfolios? So these are all the things that we will go into to ensure that you are winning in business, winning in finance, and winning in life. So with that being said, we're going to now go straight into today's program. And today we are looking at the face of self-mastery. And what exactly does this mean? It's like as we develop this topic, I'm saying to myself, what is the face of self-mastery? I recognize as I look at this, we normally say, you rise and fall on leadership, you rise and fall on habits. And I can also add now that you rise and fall on your ability to master yourself. All right. But what does that look like? When I look at this concept, I'm seeing self-knowledge. You need to understand who you are. I'm seeing self-confidence because sometimes you understand who you are, but because you might have had the experience in going out there and doing things, you don't have the self-confidence. Like for example, also we see a lot of academic institutions, they train you on the academic principles, but in most cases, the academic principle is not combined with the practical. So you're extremely knowledgeable about what you're doing or what you're supposed to do, but in terms of the practice of it, you're not confident about that. So you have the knowledge, but you're not confident. I'm using this analogy to say that sometimes you can know yourself, but if you don't practice living in your essence, all right, you may not be as confident as you want to be. And I'm saying all of this because it's when we talk about self-mastery on these platforms, we are not necessarily talking about being average. We're not talking about settling for, being average. We are talking about you flowing in your essence, where you can position yourself to be, a great thinker. All right, that's the whole essence of being mastering who you are. So I see self-knowledge, I see self-confidence, and I see self-application. Again, I keep saying, if you're not applying yourself for that, it's not going to happen. But to come to self-application, some of the things that we've seen in our research is that if you don't have self-confidence, it undermines how you apply yourself after achieving great things in life. a couple of things that I want to say here. And I truly believe that everything rises and fall on self-mastery. Now, to give a additional context to what self-mastery is, the face of self-mastery, um, this is about you truly believing in yourself. But let me say this. It's not about how they see you. It's completely about how you see yourself. So self-mastery is not about how people see you. It's completely about how you see yourself. You want to bring yourself to that point where you can care completely less. You're careless about how people see you. That matters. It's completely how you see yourself. It's you being able to predetermine your quality of life and how it impact others. It's about you being able to predetermine your quality of life and how it impacts others. Um, and I want to say this as I stop the rambling. One of the things that research has shown is that people never grow beyond their sense of self. People never grow beyond their sense of self. In other words, that I'm saying is that if you don't have self-knowledge, it's going to undermine how you apply yourself at life. If you don't have self-confidence, it's going to undermine how you apply yourself at life. So one of the things that we have seen is that people's sense of self normally equates to the quality of life that they live. All right. The quality of your life is defined by how you see yourself. All right. And we're going to have that type of conversation today as we go deeper into the whole concept of the face of self mastery. All right. So I want to open up there. And I know this is right along Peter's pathway. But just before I open up, let me just say this. The subject of self mastery has everything to do with how a business strive. All right. So again, we are not discussing these topics in isolation to business. Because if you have your workforce and you have a team that is trained to understand self and to flow from that real self, if you have a team that is nurtured in self-confidence and they can flow from self-confidence, if you have a team that is trained to apply themselves with absolute belief that I can achieve the impossible, just think about how that organization is going to function. So what we are discussing here is not in isolation to business. It's 101% relevant to business. So I'm going to stop there and just open up. Your thoughts, my friend. You're mute, Peter.
Okay, so the question, all right, and everything when it comes to self, the how do you define a word without using the word is a key factor for us to look in here. So how do you talk about self without using the word self? All right, so we're gonna ask the question: when you say you, when I say you, what am I talking about? When you say me, when you say me, who are you talking about? All right, so it's easy for you to look into the mirror and you see your body. Okay, so that's the first component of the you or the me, depending on if it is you or it is me, right? So let's go a little deeper now because you're looking at your body, but I'm sure you know you are far more than
And
your
the body.
physical form that stands before you. So you do understand that you have a mind. So there's a dimension of your mind. So the question now is, what is the mind? What is the mind? And if we should do a research on the word mind, it will go back to a Greek word that means psyche. and the word psyche translated back to English is mind, right? So the question is, what is the mind? So you know what your body is. Now we look at what is the mind, or what is the soul, psyche, soul. These words, or the mind is used interchangeably with the soul, but the Greek word refers to the mind and is the same word for mind. For the same word for soul is translated for mind, right? So what's in the mind? When we say my mind, what are we talking about? So let's just think about yourself now, because we are, and we do understand from that we have a human spirit, right? That the human person has three components. We are body, we are soul, and we are spirit. And we could check back even where, for those individuals who understand, one of the oldest documents that speaks about the human person. As a matter of fact, one of the best document that speaks about the human person is the Bible, scriptures, right? Ancient documents that describes humans' history back all the way to creation. And this is one book that is authoritative, as it really set a lot of precedents for other books. And so we can really stand upon the descriptions, or the understanding that we can get from the scriptures, that speaks about human beings are three parts: body, soul, and spirit. And that's the points I want to get across here. Human beings, we are three parts: we have a body, we have a spirit, and we have a soul, and we are a spirit. All right. So when we speak about the mind now, or the soul, what are we talking about? Let's just check ourselves. When I talk about soul, I'm talking about memory. Your memory. What is the soul? You have also something that you use to choose: your will, your ability, your volition, your emotions. You can feel, when somebody, that sense of understanding of how you relate to your environment from the level of your mind, emotions. You also have intellect, and your intellect is what you use to learn, and you have an imagination that you use to apply creativity in whatever it is that you do. And then you have a tapping into the spiritual zone. You have a conscience, something that defines what is right and what is wrong. Your sense of understanding who God is, which now taps into the human spirit. All right. So when you're talking about the you that you are, then these are the six components that are going to come forward. So now, if we're going to talk now about mastery, the phase of self mastery, and we're talking about you, then all of these components is what needs to be mastered. So you got to master your memory. You got to master your will. You got to master your emotion. You got to master your intellect. You got to master your imagination. So the face, and let me say this is no easy task. This is no easy task. That is why the world is
But it's
in
the
the
most
chaos.
important task, right? Mm.
This is why the world is in the place that it is, because most persons, when they talk about mastery has to do with proficiency. Are you proficient in what you do? And the first thing that we need to master before we can master anything else is the you. Because if we define, or if we try to go master, to apply mastery to anything else before mastering self, what we will become, are you ready for this word? A tyrant. And that's the chaos that is in the world, because what it means now is that we're trying to apply measures that we have not learned how to apply in our own domain. So we're going to mismanage. So the best place to learn, because and you know the golden rule is treat others as we would like to be treated ourselves.
Mhm.
So how do we know how
So
we want to be?
they've lost the blueprint. They don't have a blueprint, and
And it
because
starts
yeah, I follow what you're saying, because what you're saying is that if you go to buy a fridge, the fridge has a manual. You
exactly.
go to buy a car has a manual. You know, you go to buy these different things, they have a manual. And the funny thing about it, you know, there's a manual for your life, but you just don't know it, or you just don't use it, you just don't learn it. And I think that's what we're talking about here. When you, what you're talking about also, when you, you know, learn the manual in all its ways, you are able, you know, quite naturally to evolve into self mastery.
And this is the reason why I mentioned the Bible, because it's one of the books that gives the best description of life, of how we operate where life is concerned, and as you mentioned, the manual. Because how are we going to know who we are? There is a level of discovery that is necessary. And when we understand, because using the terminology of the manual again, you mentioned whatever gadget that we purchase, when we understand what it is by, through data, through study, then we know the use, we can make the proper use of the thing. So what we do find is that the greater portion of humanity are not even utilizing, we're not even putting ourselves to the best use, because a lot of persons still do not even know who you, when you say you, like I mentioned, they don't know what comprise of you, what comprise of me. And if I do not know how to define even just the what constitutes who I am, then we're going to leave a lot to be desired.
I like that, Peter. And as you express yourself on the topic, it's not at the first time it struck me, but it struck me at a perhaps a deeper level now. Um, Most people in the world, perhaps 90% of the global population, they have a manual for their TV, all right, but they don't have a manual for their lives. So how are you going to embrace self mastery? You know, um, as you talk there, also the question pop in my mind. You know, are we human having a spiritual experience, or are we spirit having a human experience? And I think that when we live from just the flesh, it's not like we want to sound religious, because this is not about religion. All right, it's not about that. When we live from the flesh and flow from the flesh without understanding spirituality, the depths of who we are, there is where you have a great challenge. But I'm going to pause here for now. Shivani and Paul, love to hear from you.
Okay, so hearing a lot self mastery, and I see it's a very, very important topic, right? For business, for leadership, for life. I mean,
Yes.
we all want to get into business. We all into project management, and trying different areas. But if you do not understand yourself, it's not going to really work. You may find it's working to a point, and then it doesn't work again, right? Um, so recently, a lot of persons have been approaching me, asking me, well, Shafani, I'm here now. I've done my degree. I've done my master's. Yes, I've gotten the job, and it's good, right? But I want something else, right? I don't know what I want, right? I don't know what I want. So a lot, I don't know if why it is it's happening like that. A lot of people are approaching me asking these questions, right? I don't know what I want, and immediately, what comes to my mind? Persons need to really reflect on themselves, because they may have the job, but um my take on life is every 10 years it'll change. It's like every decade something new will come, so you don't stay the same way. And because you're not saying the same way, you don't even know you're not saying the same way, but you're not saying the same way. And therefore, in the job remains the same, but you don't remain the same. So you need to find some type of way to handle both. So it's just something that, I wanted to share with everyone here, that persons are at different points in their life, and depending on where you are, you have to really understand. You may need to pivot. And how do you pivot? You need to understand self. You really need to understand self.
But Shivani,
Yeah,
I
Gary.
just want to support you with what you said, because what you said there is so profound. Here is where you have someone that has a master's degree, has a first degree, but they still don't know how to fit in. They still don't know how to fit in.
Yeah.
And I think that is not healthy. When they
Mhm.
come into the organization now, some of the things that we see, because they don't know how to fit in, and the leadership in the organization is not taking some of these content into consideration. They work for a little bit, and then they shift position. They leave the job. They go on to something else. Because guess what, Shivani, of exactly what you said, they're trying to find some environment that they feel at home and they fit in. And that's why we talk about that subject that we call blanket workplace self-actualization, because it forces you to not just see the organization structure, but to see the human resources and to ask yourself, how can I align this individual based on their personality dreams, their personality traits, their dreams and hopes and vision? How can I align all of this to the future trajectory of the organization? So what you're saying there is profound, and is a big problem, Shivani. I didn't mean to cut you, but I just want to back you up there with what you said, because it's very, very, very profound.
Very true, Gary. And you know, it's something you're saying also, but people don't know what they don't know. They
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know. And I feel like I'm constantly saying that. People don't know what they don't know. Now, this whole topic of self-mastery, you have to look at it as a project as well, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
as you all
definitely.
know, it's a project. And I personally preach, it's not, you can't be a master of something, right? You're not a master of it. But if you have to look at, it's a practice. Even so, self mastery, the word is a practice. How do you practice this daily? How do you change it? And you have to now determine what is your practice. Some persons will say wake up 5 a.m. in the morning, and you have your practice and your rituals, and you may go swimming or you may go walking, whatever it is, right? But it's a series of things. It is a series of things. So just like a project, you have different elements for for success. Self mastery, you have different elements now for success. And it is such an important topic, right? One may say this is a soft skill, but it's not a soft skill. This is a power skill. The whole term change. It's no longer soft skills, it's power skills, right? And this is
Yeah.
what we need to develop a lot more of. So, as I come back into the conversation, and, as we go now to Paul, self mastery for me, it is a practice. I do not see it that you will always achieve that, and that is all that it is. It will keep evolving. Well, definitely for me, right? That's my personal experience. That it's a practice that I have to keep remembering. What do I really want? It's going to change. This is not the top for me always. It's a practice for me, and I'll come back again.
And Shivani, you're right. When we look at it from the context of self-actualization, you see, as we evolve, what studies have shown is that the more the appetite is fed, the more the appetite wants.
Yes.
And what we have learned is that we are so rich with potential to achieve greatness. As we climb one step and we achieve that, we achieve mastery here. But guess what?
Yeah.
It's not the beginning and the end. It's not the pinnacle. We can go higher.
Yeah.
So I love the concepts there, and you're perfectly on point. And I love that you say power skill and not soft skill, because of the fact that the entire individual, the entire institution rests on the individual rising to that point where they can demonstrate a high degree of self mastery, linking back to everything that Peter would have said, emotional intelligence and a whole host of different things. I mean, the more anchored that person is with self, the more effective and efficient they are within the that work environment. Again, we're just scratching the surface here. As time progresses, we're going to go deeper into these concepts to really speak to the hearts of corporate leaders. My good friend Paul, and self mastery also has to me a lot to do with money, because, and let me just coin it this way, and you don't have to come this way, Paul. Um, One of the things that most of us here have grown up with, especially if you're a Christian, is that we learn that money is the root of all evil. And that is a part of your life that you didn't want to put much time to learn and to master the financial aspect of your life. And I think that's one of the biggest deception that has ever been, imposed on society, because the scripture didn't say so. So money plays a tremendous role in the, or let me put it this way: when you begin to understand the process of self mastery, you recognize that building wealth is also part of that process. And I'm going to leave it there. Paul, all to you.
Thank you. Boy, a lot's been said, and I really like this subject. So, to make it real simple for me, I think self mastery is when you tell yourself what to do and then you do it. Now, how do you get to that point? Yeah, it takes a lot to get there. It takes discipline and effort, but you got those things. Those aren't big words. They're not scary. Discipline and effort. So, literally, just do it. Just do it. And I got a really good story that I can underline what you were talking about earlier, the difference with lack of confidence, lack of experience, but you still got the knowledge. Um, Two people at the license bureau, they're both getting a permit, because you have to get a permit before you get a license for a street bike to get a endorsement to operate a motorcycle on the street, right? You got two people there. One guy who has never ridden a street bike, and you've got another guy who has also not ridden a street bike, but he's been riding dirt bikes since he was 6. I mean, you could argue they're both motorcycles, and they are, but there's a difference. There's a dirt bike, which is 250 pounds, and you've got a street bike, which is 800 pounds, and you got cars to deal with. So let's put them both on the same level playing field. They both have no experience with street bikes, although one of them has experience riding motorcycles. So they both get their permit. They're on their way home that day. One goes north, one goes south. And the guy who goes north is the guy who has zero experience, never rode dirt bikes. Well, he's nervous. He doesn't have the education, but he's got the permit. He's doing it. He's riding this thing that's 800 pounds. He's really never done it before. It's scary probably for him. There's cars. He's hit the highway. He's doing 65, right? Jumps off on a neighborhood. He's only doing 25 or 35. Somebody pulls out in front of him. He freezes. Freeze. Well, you have to break the freeze, number one, but he freezes, doesn't know whether to go left, right, hit the brakes, whatever. The other guy who went south, who's been riding dirt bikes since he was 6 years old, okay, he's not familiar with an 800-pound machine, but it's pretty comparable. And he's driving down the road. Somebody pulls out in front of him. He knows exactly what to do because he's done it before. He's got the confidence. So who's going to survive the accident? It's going to be the guy with the experience. How do you get the experience? Going back to what I said earlier, you just do it. It's not hard. If you want to get up and get a glass of water, what do? You stand up, go get your glass of water and drink it. I think that same thing applies to every single thing as far as disciplining ourselves, mastering ourselves. You simply just do it. Do it. Get up, go do it, and it's done. And then do it again and keep doing it.
I love that, Paul. Um, what I also want to add is that You don't have to. I mean, while we're talking about, there's a manual to riding a bike and driving a car or turning on your television, and we talk about you should have a manual for your life. It don't have to be a biblical manual. The reality is that you can make a conscious decision that you're going to create your own manual, but that manual should not reflect lack and limitation and doubts and fear. It reflects abundance. So you can create your own manual. All right. Let me say a couple of things here. Because as we talk about self mastery, the face of self mastery, I have seen that many things get into the way of one mastering self. And I see society in itself gets into the way. When a child might not be in an environment where there is strong influence, society takes charge and influence that child. And here's where you have interplays between what is the ideal self and the looking glass self, the self image. And there's not much development around the what we call the real self, because the real self, I would normally say, it is something that says to you, it doesn't matter where you came from. All right. That doesn't define you. It doesn't matter where you're at. That doesn't define you. All right. Because you can make a decision right here and right now that you want to open a new chapter in your life and charter a particular path. And the only thing that is stopping you from doing that is you. All right. Your life is like a genie that when you really understand how to work your genie, you recognize that you got a thousand and a thousand different wishes that you could rebrand and remake yourself. All right, in finding your true self and mastering yourself. Now, what I have seen, when you bring yourself to that point to flow in your essence and to flow in your real self, you exit the blame game. You're no longer blaming someone for where you are, because we need to accept that it's a waste of time, uh, effort, and your talent to blame someone for where you are. You want to step out of the blame game. You want to take full ownership of your life. And I'm not saying take ownership of your life, just let me put it that way. All right? Take ownership of your life. And that will bring you into, strengthening your sense of self. It's having that sense of ownership. And just let me give a soft introduction of what I'm saying here. When you purchase a car, you're in control of that car. That car is, you know, you take care of that car. You drive that car in a safe way, because you care for that car. You exercise a fair degree of control over that car because you own it. Um, are you exercising the same control over your life in terms of how you position yourself to master who you are? Not in lack and limitation, doubts, and fear, but to flow in your abundance. Are you pausing to say, I can position myself to become a global thinker? I can position myself to become a transformational leader. I can be, position myself to become, a great, social actors. When we talk about self mastery, and this is where Peter program comes into play also, master plan, personal life master plan. It's about you being selfish about you a little bit. All right. It's about you being selfish about you a little bit and don't care a damn who is offended by you, caring about you and wanting to master yourself. Because the reality is that if you don't care enough about yourself and pour into yourself enough, you have nothing to pour into others. All right. You have nothing to pour into others. I want to talk briefly about sense of purpose and what is sense of purpose, how to find purpose. And I want to talk briefly about this. And again, with research, what we have done, we have seen that when you give yourself in service, lose yourself in service, it opens up the door for you to find purpose and self fulfillment. All right. So it's about giving yourself in service. Just be of service. Perhaps you can be of service at the highest standard, but be of service. All right. Lose yourself in service, and doors will begin to open where you can find purpose and self fulfillment. And one of the things that you want to ensure that you have in life is purpose. And Shivani, those young people that you were talking to, I mean, I know that I had that experience. You graduate and your chest is pumped high, and you believe that you got this piece of paper and you have arrived, but you feel empty and you feel lost, completely lost. I can recall my experience. I think when I did, was it either the diploma or degree in project management, I thought by having this, I would have feel as though you accomplished everything, but I felt lost. And I do believe that finding purpose really makes a whole difference. So the key to finding purpose that I have discovered is that you must give yourself in service, lose yourself in that service, and tremendous possibilities open up from there for you to find purpose and self-fulfillment. I'll go into that later on. But the last point that I want to make here is what I call the sense of direction. Having that sense of direction is where you're fully anchored in your sense of self. All right? You have that sense of direction. And think about it in this way: you are the pilot of the plane, and you understand the entire navigation process. You know how to get from one destination to the other destination. Um, you might have learned through practice. You might have some failure on, a few times, but you have now come to this point where you have a strong sense of direction. And so when I talk about ownership of your life, you want to bring yourself to this point where you are the captain of your ship, the pilot of your plane, and the navigator of your life. All right. Stop blaming someone else for where you are. Yes, we have wicked people in the world that may try to, defame you with lies. We have wicked people in the world that may try to undermine you uh, deliberately. But that is the nature of the beast. That's the nature of life. And if you are any close to biblical teaching, you will know that anyone who is going after something great, the attackers will come. All right. And any great leader, you need to know that you're prepared to deal with these stuff. This is the reality of life. Don't blame them, because the flip side of all of this, some of the things that we have seen, the very obstacles that is in front of you that you perceive is there to prevent you from reaching your objectives is the very obstacle that is going to propel you even faster and further to where you thought that you were going. It always happened. So I'm saying to you, divorce yourself from the blame game. All right. And bring yourself to that point where you're taking ownership for the good, the bad, and the in between. You're taking full responsibility for directing your life. And that's my conclusion on having that strong sense of self, having that strong sense of purpose, and having that strong sense of direction with your life. That for me is a strong representation of the face of self mastery. I'm going to leave it there for you folks, my friend.
I think, all right. How I'd like to also add to this conversation is what we call being human. Being human. What is it to be human? So we are a human being, and what is it? What does human life? And when we talk about terminologies such as life, those are huge terms that we use, frequently without understanding that there are deeper concepts to what these terminologies are. So we will, and you mentioned that this is not about religion. It's certainly not about religion. But then, if we're going to navigate ourselves through life, then we have to understand that there are, what should I say, concepts, or everything that governs life is governed by principles. And another terminology for principles are laws. Laws, and when I say laws, I'm not talking about laws that, you don't run the red light. I'm not talking about that. That those are rules, human rules, right? When I'm talking about laws, I'm talking about laws that governs nature. There are laws you can't, and the thing about laws, you can't break a law. It's not the way how laws are constructed. You can't break a law. A law will break you, certainly,
Yeah,
but you can't
natural
really
law.
break a law, right?
You
They're
can't
natural.
defy gravity.
So right,
Okay,
exactly. If
got
if
you.
you if you go up on the building and jump, there's only one where you're gonna go. But when
It's
we
done.
know, but when we know how to use laws, we know that there is other laws that can, that that takes over and carries out. So, for instance, yes, gravity, the law of gravity is there, but then there's a law of aerodynamics, right? So another law can be set in place that makes give one law give greater value to one law. But there are what the point I'm trying to make here is that if we're going to master self, we have to understand how to navigate self and the
No, I got you, Peter.
environment.
Peter, just a point. Just to clear up what you're saying, and I love it. The law is not there to hold you back, but the law is there to ensure that you understand how to function within the laws to achieve your objectives and not
Or within the
necessarily.
parameters, because we're in space, right, within the parameters of life.
Yeah.
So we're navigating through an era through space. So how do we navigate through what we call loss? So for we're here on the competitive edge, and a lot of things, a lot of what we talk about is business, but then we got to understand that there are laws of economics, and if we do not understand laws that governs economics, you can't function where business is concerned. So, understanding the premise that there are dynamics in place before I make a move, in doing whatever we're doing, we got to understand that the dynamics that governs our platform, that governs our playing field. There are laws, and the more we understand those laws, is the better we're able to master ourselves as we navigate ourselves through these areas. And those are basic concepts that when we begin to manage ourselves, even where relationships are concerned, there are laws that governs relationships. There are laws that governs morality. So why is the world in the chaos that it is? Why is the why our business? Why the economy? Why there's so much chaos all around us? It's because there are basic constructs by which life, the thing we call life, is governed. So mastery is when we first understand what these concepts are and we live in alignment with them. Because if we don't, then this is what life, this is why life is the way how it is.
Yes, and I do believe that man in his imperfection is accountable for all of the issues that you've just spoken about, their imperfection. And we go deeper into that as time progresses. Nothing that happens in life, when you have a deep spiritual foundation, should come to you as a surprise.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. All right. It's just that,
May I just throw another thing there in Gary, because
yeah.
I want to keep reminding our audience that when we this is not about religion. Life is not about religion. Uh,
No,
and the
none of us
reason
here. Yeah, you're right. We are not talking religion here. We
we're
are
we're
not.
talking we're talking about, and let me go back again. We're talking about principles or laws that governs life. So for instance, what I'm saying is this, that everything happens in the unseen world first before it takes place in the world that we see. That's basic. That's basic. Everything
That's another
happens
dimension. That's another
in an
dimension.
unseen. So if we do not understand these basic parameters, if we do not understand these basic concepts, we're going to always be hitting ourselves, hitting our head against the wall and wondering why are things not working. We are in whatever the clothes, the shirt, this jacket that I'm wearing. It was the concept in somebody's mind first before it actually plays out for me to see it. And there's a host of things that goes into place. There's a host of activities that went into place that brings this from the person's mind to it being actual, to become actual. First of all, somebody has to set up a machinery that is going to make cloth. Somebody has to make blue dye that is going to turn the cloth blue. Somebody has to create threads for it to put this together. Somebody has to create a scissors that was going to make this jacket. So what we're saying to our audience is that there are parameters, there are principles, there are laws that goes into what makes life life. And it is mastery is simply to, so when Paul says, I like what Paul says, when you tell yourself what to do and you do it, and even as simple as that sound, it's dependent on parameters, because once you step out to do something, then there are going to be there's a how, right? So yes, I'm going to do it, but the question is how. And then there's a host of concepts, there's a host of responsibilities, there's a host of elements that we have to navigate ourselves through in order to end with the results. And the more we understand what those elements that are involved are, is the better we're able to apply mastery to whatever we're doing, whatever it is that we're doing.
All right, great point. I want to quickly say hello to all of the onlookers. I see some of the folks in YouTube and other platforms. They are indicating how much they're enjoying the program. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here with us, and to also say it gives us tremendous pleasure to serve. And Peachy, you made a couple of great points. And sometimes the simplest things is brushed over as trivial. Based on the last points you were making, everything begins with a thought. Everything begins with a thought, and nothing exists divorced from a thought. And we can go right back to Christ. He had a thought, and he made thought manifest. And if you recognize, we in our lower version of godliness or goddess, whatever you want to call it, when we remove thoughts from life, life is meaningless. You have to have thought to produce the pen. You have to have thought for everything. And these are simple things. I mean, the face of self-mastery can be to master your thoughts, like Paul would have said. Simple concepts. But I think that, as time progresses, we're going to go so much more deeper in this. But I want to open up to Paul. I know you certainly would have something to share before I make a few other points. Paul? And then Shivani? Paul, you're mute, I think.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
just listening to what you guys are saying, I cannot, there's no way to disagree with it. I completely agree with what you're saying. The building steps, you have to have the knowledge, you have to have the information. But what I'm sitting here also thinking is, let's make this simple, because lots of things are too complicated. People don't take action because of fear. Well, what is fear? You're not getting attacked by a tiger. That you got good reason to be fear, but even then your fear should spur some action, immediate action, right? So people are not taking action because they're not being attacked by a tiger. If you were, you would consider it much more urgent. But let's equate that tiger to your life. Is it not urgent to build a good life for yourself, to build a good life for your family, to build wealth so your family's secure? I think that's about as urgent as a tiger, maybe more, because it's going to last longer. You get attacked by the tiger, you're done maybe a minute later. If you get attacked by life and you don't respond, you're going to have a long, drawn out death, and it's not going to be fun. I'd rather get it over with quick and take the tiger. So let's make things simple. Let's make it real simple. Just do it. Somebody's
Just do
done
it.
what you want to do before. Somebody's already done it. And if they haven't done it, then that's pretty cool. If you got a brand new thing that nobody's ever done, excellent, because that's what we're talking about. It all starts in the mind. And if that's the case, it's still it. Let's make it the simplest thing that we can make it. Just do it. There are steps that you can take. Get a project manager, make your master plan, make that new thing happen because you can make it happen. You can. It's just a matter of getting up and doing it instead of sitting there and thinking about it and being afraid. So I guess what I'm really driving at and what I would want people to know and understand is, man, even if you make a mistake, so what? You made a mistake, it doesn't matter. You didn't die. You're alive. You can make the next mistake or you can make the next right move, but just keep doing it. Do it, and it's going to work out. That's the magic ingredient. Everything will work if you simply take the action. And if you don't, then it won't. It's that simple.
And it's about perspective too, Paul, because some see it as mistake, but in the view of Thomas Edison, when he was experimenting to create, light, he said that there weren't mistakes. He just learned a hundred different ways of what he should not do. And by learning what he shouldn't do, he began now to master what he should do. So it depends on perspectives. So you're perfectly correct with that. Perfectly
But
correct.
that's data, and you're right about that because
Yeah,
it's data, it's information, and if
yeah.
we don't have data, data is what drives success. Now and as Paul says, and I really want to underline that, the action, because the mistakes came out, I think, out of the school system, the education system, where you're reprimanded for doing something, the simple things, which it's a part of the data collection process. And that's the issue when people are um, reprimanded for collecting data. That's when there is problems, there are clogs in the system, because you, as Shivane said earlier, you don't know what you don't know. So how will you know? You got to do it. Then you can pivot and you move on to the next, because after, and check every individual that has really moved into mastery, say in the area of sports. We know the experience. We have seen and heard the testimonials from these basketball, Michael Jordan, how he went from a person who was told that he was, the worst at what he does, but then he applied himself, because when you make enough mistakes and you constantly make enough mistakes, and that is what mastery is, you make enough mistakes and then you're going to make mistakes less. When you apply yourself in a particular area, the mistakes becomes less until you reach a level now where you are able to navigate yourself, as Shivani says, that you are now able to become a practitioner now, because you have mastered the craft in such a way where you have eliminated all that, or minimize what you should not do, and you now know what you ought to do, and you continue to do what you ought to do, and continue to perfect what you ought to do. And I think that is the face of self-mastery.
All right. I'm coming over to Siobhan, but I just want to say 2 points that we talked about early on. We talk about the power of thought, and thought has a frequency. Nothing happens without thought. And the next thing that we learn about thought is that the dominant thought always manifests. In Shivani's space, I can say that in her life, you see it. Her dominant thought is project practitioner. She loves project practitioner, and she's doing tremendously well in that field. And I'm certain that she is going to be doing so much more. In terms of Paul dominant thoughts, even before he became a specialist in finance, would have been finance, you know, and to be able to help people to access capital to grow and scale. There's so the 2 points I'm making here is that it's important for us to understand thoughts, all right? It's how important it is. Nothing happened without thought. And to also recognize that when we start the dominant thought, the things that we think about most has no choice but to manifest. There's more to read, but that's just a little piece that I want to add there. Shivani, I know you have a lot to say.
Thanks, Gary. So something you said that the persons that reach out to me, they were young people, right? They were not no
Yeah.
young people. They were
Oh, they were young.
they were my age, right? So
Okay.
Gary has said that statement there. They were my age, or they were, so you're supposed to say, "But no, Shivani, you're young, right?" You're taking long to say
Yes, you're young. Yes, that's true. You're young,
right.
Shivani.
So these people are my age. They're in their 40s. They're about 45, and that's how they're feeling right now. I got a
Yeah.
master's. I did the 10 years, and I got experience, and they're growing in leadership, and they're very, very, very good. But just like myself, you may get fed up. You want a different challenge, and that's what I'm telling persons. You need a different challenge, and it's okay to think like that. It's okay to think that you need a new challenge. They It's not like before, like in my parents' age, time, they would have done one job and be very, 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 very happy with that and retire at that. Life changes, people change, right? And that can't work for me. That can't work for a lot of persons. That may work for some people still. I'm not saying it may not work. You have to know yourself, as we keep saying, right? You have to know yourself. So here's my advice, right? And when people come, especially with that age bracket, right? Because it's something that I'm seeing a lot of, really, really, really. And I want to be able to contribute to it because I experience it as well. So life is a series of projects, right? Life is a series of projects that we keep saying. We have to develop a project management framework for ourselves. So you have to know that when you finish studying, and I mean, my parents would send me, you have to go to university. Yes, you get your degree, great. And then you start to work, right? And I mean, that's great. I mean, I had the best life, and I didn't have to pay for any fees or anything when I finished. I was taken care of by my parents, right? And now, after that, you got into your degree, after you got into your job, you got a job, and you work for a period of time in it. So you evolve it, you learn, you use that to learn, to master. You can master yourself when you finish your degree, right? You know that a lot of people think that they know everything when they finish. But that's a whole conversation, and that confuses people a lot. That they think, oh, I got this degree, I got this master's, I am a master now. Like the word suggests, I'm a masters. No, no, no. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. And people will figure that out as they get into the world of work and as they evolve.
The
So it is
practice, the application, and
you
the
have to
experience
practice.
make that
You have to
happen. Yeah.
practice. So even if you are practicing, what I'm trying to suggest here is that the first 10 years when you practice, you may eventually evolve into something else, and that's all right. So look at your job, look at your life as a series of projects. You start with an outcome. What is the outcome that you want? Now, project can't be for 50 years, right? It will be a series of projects. So look at it probably as a 10-year project. I know Peter was talking about 5-year master plan and 10-year master plan. So look at probably a 10-year for yourself when you come out of university, or wherever you are, and look at the 10 years. And then looking at that 10 years, what is the outcome? What do you want? And that's how self mastery will actually evolve, right? It's a practice. What is the outcome? And another word, and it's really a project management, we have evolved that topic from outcome and outputs to what are the benefits, because an outcome is not a benefit. right? So what really are the benefits of that 10 years? You have the outcome, and the outcome then will result in a benefit. Once people see the benefit, you know, you're getting on board, you're seeing something. So an outcome is not a benefit. It's not a benefit, but it will result in a benefit. It can result in a benefit. If it does not result in a benefit, something wrong. Go back and work this thing out again. So life is a series of projects. Self-mastery should be looked at that, a project management framework. We could even evolve it into a program management because it's a series of projects we're talking about here. And it's okay, a lot of persons may say life is like linear, right? I don't think that at all. That's not my way. That is linear. It's circular to me. Everything just going all over the place. No problem. People might say chaotic. No, you know yourself. As you said too, don't be judged. Don't think that somebody doing it that way, you have to do it the same way.
It's the only way. Yeah, it's not the only way.
Not the only way. You have to find yourself, and that is where self mastery and self awareness comes in. Are you self aware? Now, being self aware, to me, it's always a spiritual thing. Now, spirituality is different from religion, as you all will know.
It
Spirituality
is.
is different
Yeah.
from religion. So you will have to find your spirituality. There are so many different teachings, readings, literature. You will find your self awareness and take it into a project management framework, get your outcome, get your benefits, see if it works. Remember, it's a 10 year, every 10 years you're supposed to change. Every 10 years from it's since I got my degree at 21 to now, it's totally different for me. If you hear me at age 21, 22, and you hear me now, if you think I'm sounding the same, come and tell me. Then I know I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, right? I'm not supposed to be the same at all. So those are my points for now.
But you make some great points, Shivani, and they are so great. They're fundamentals and they're deep. You talk about the fact is you might achieve a certain level of success, but because you've been practicing in the same field and the same craft for many years, boredom steps in. And Borden steps in again because he didn't work with Peter to have a short-term plan and a long-term plan. Because again, we have seen this. You can rise to the highest rank in a position of strength, a position of leadership. But because there's no growth in that position of leadership, there's stagnation, there's too much of repetition, you start to feel a loss of interest there because, again, it is not aligned to the concept that we call self actualization, which is you continuously growing and evolving to become better than you were yesterday. If the opportunities are not there within the organization for you to keep growing and expanding, there's an element of lack of satisfaction that is going to be stepping up. We're going to go deeper into this later on because we have done some research on this, and that's why we developed the blanket self-actualization theory, but we'll go into it later on. The second point that you made, Shivani, that I love, you talk about having end games, knowing the results that you want and ensuring that that results is benefits. All right. I love it because we tend to sometimes go into anything and we look at what is the benefits for me. While that is, it's important, it makes greater sense to see how the entire stakeholders can benefit from whatever you're doing. And again, we'll go deeper into explaining what this is as time progresses. It's better, and I think you said it yesterday, day before yesterday, Shivani. It's better with a collective than with yourself. All right. But there's so much more for us to go into. We're not going to get into it today, but I just love those points. Having clear targeted performance outcome. Benefits should not only be about you, but it should be about the collective. The process works better as you position yourself for self-mastery. Love those points. Okay, guys, Paul, I'm going to come to you, and then
There's something that I want to throw
go
in
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
what
Peter.
Shivan said as well, about the cyclical factor of life. It's not linear. Time may seem to be linear, but it's cyclical. And when we do understand that, that also position us for mastery in and understanding the cyclical concept. And she mentioned that, every 5-10 years, we're when you look at ourselves, we there ought to be distinct change. But what I also would like to add to that is how technology, with the fast growth in technology, what we have to even be more adaptive, because every couple of years now we find that the environment, so while ourselves as individuals have this transient space for change that may work out, into 5-10 year 15, in those intervals, but technology throw now another curveball in it, where um, technology is changing so fast that we can't now wait for 5 years. We have to be very adaptive, to the environment as it comes toward us. And that is another dimension of mastery that we have to take advantage of. And this is why, I will always, look at, finding partnership, which would now go into what my favorite talk, where planning is concerned, and master planning is concerned. But I'll just leave it there for when I'm going to do my final piece.
All right. Definitely dynamic conversation. I'm going to say a piece, and then I'm going to come to Paul to also make his comment. Then I'll come to Peter, and then Shivani, and then I'll come back to Paul to talk to us about finance. So that's the sequence I'm going to take. But let me say this quickly. I do believe that it's important that we as humans, our spirit having the human experience, we take ownership of our lives, all right, and make a conscious decision to shape our life into what it can be. Now, you may not know everything, all right, but guess what? This is where mentor and coach and having a right support system comes into play. Part of shaping your life, you might want to have a healthy personal life where you know yourself and you can master who you are. You have Peter that can help you with that, not only with developing your personal life master plan, but he can work with you to help you to understand what family life should look like. And Paul hinted on this early on. You owe it not only to yourself but to your family to ensure that you can provide all types of security for them. You know, your family must feel secure at home. They must feel secure in finance. They must feel secure in every aspect of life. So as you start to look at your family life, Paul is going to come in and say, what's your financial game plan for life? What is your smart investment strategies? And he's going to say, money is not a problem because I'm going to get you approved. You in mastering your life, it's about taking all of these parts of your life and say that, hey, I want to attain mastery here. You know, in your community, perhaps you might want to do a community projects to create safety and security and all of that in the community. But as Peter talked about this also is your corporate life master plan. Developing a strong corporate life master plan may put you to develop a strong brand that is local, a strong brand that goes regional, a strong brand that goes international. What does your corporate life master plan looks like? And money is not a problem because Paul is going to fund you. So as you focus on mastering yourself, all right, you have a number of subject matter experts here to work with you. And Shivani comes in very uniquely here because everything is a project. All right. Peter's going to help you to say, okay, this is your personal life. But then guess what? Siobhan is going to say, this is how you need to implement. Siobhan is all about implementation and results. Shivani is all about, hey, if things going wrong, we can find some configuration tool and twist this thing and break the back of this thing and bring it back to the, completion criteria that we want. She has that type of expertise. And again, we are not here just for the sake of talking. We are here because we want you to take action and ownership over your life. That's why we are here, to provide you with a content of information and to ensure that you can take action to transform the realities and circumstances of your life. And we are saying to you that you have mentor, you have coach, you have a support group, you have sponsors. If you don't have that in your community, my God, reach out to us. That's what we're here for, to give you that type of support to ensure that you win in business and in life. All right, we know a lot of the problems. So we're not gonna come here and sit down and talk problems. We can come here, or I got talk RB, right? We can come here and we can provide the solution. All right. So reach out to us, my friends, and let's work with you. All right. You have a business and you want to attain mastery in yourself and your business, we can help you with that. All right. We have years and years and years of practical experience that can truly touch and transform your life. So, with that being said, I want to come to Peter, then I'm going to come to Shivani, then I'm going to come to Paul. Can we have closing remarks, my friend Peter?
Well, everything is going to boil down. And Shivani said it so eloquently, and Paul put it into perspective when he says just do it. So Shivani says that life is a series of projects, and that's what it is. Life is a series of projects. And then Paul says, because life is a series of projects, don't just sit around, do it. Do it. So
Get those projects done.
get it done. So my contribution now that you decide to do it, the question is how are you going to do it? Because if you're going to step out in doing something, you want to minimize. We will make mistakes, yes, but then you want to minimize the amount of mistakes that will be made, or the amount of resources that will be used, the amount of time that will be used, and everything can be simplified when we put a plan in place. And the longer you're able to, or the greater vision that you can have, that you can embed in that plan, the best you're able. If you can answer enough questions about what it is that you're doing, then the chances of success increases. And so this is why we, implore people to do those personal life. Look at look at life comes in basically four dimensions, right? Life operates in four basic dimensions. It starts with you, start with the person, and that is what we've been talking about today. What the face of person of mastery. So it's going to start with
Self
self,
mastery.
mastery
Mhm.
of self. That's where it starts. And then, mastering self now puts you in a position to now bring individuals to share your life, which is now family. You're going to invite other persons to share your domain. That is family. And then operating as a family in a community, which is just a compilation of other families. And then at the corporate level, we're going to develop structures by which all those families can navigate in a corporate setting, in an agreed corporate setting, which brings out now what the society as a whole is. So when we begin to plan and begin to design and gather enough information through planning, taking into consideration everything that is involved, and get a bird's eye view over what it is that we're doing, that put us in that place. So what we do personally when we're working with individuals, we always start, because life is, as Shivani said, it's cyclical, right? So we always start with individuals to have a personal life master plan. Because when you have a personal life master plan, automatically the family, the community, and the corporate is just to apply those principles and those concepts in different perspective. So it always goes back to the personal life master plan, because that will answer the basic question for all the other the three other levels moving up. So what we even have a document that we call 50 questions to master your life. 50 questions to master your life. And when we're able to narrow down those 50 questions to two basic questions, and these two basic questions will attain the self mastery that we're talking about. When you can ask yourself, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself this one question: who are you? Look at yourself as if you are somebody from the outside looking in. You ask yourself, who are you? And then you are going to go back in your quiet place. You're going to go within yourself. You're going to stay within yourself. You're going to ask yourself, who am I? Those two questions will give you a host of data, information upon which you can build all the dimensions and all the levels of life moving forward.
All right. Great share, Peter. Shivani?
Right. Thanks so much, Gary. So to close off, really, my closing remarks: self mastery. I enjoy this topic. Right. It's a topic that we need to master. Right, and you could only master self mastery by practicing.
Mm-hmm.
So you would find a lot of times project management leaders, life, whatever you're doing, when you don't understand this is where you off balance, you get off balance. So to really be a good practitioner in your field, a good leader, even in your home life, personal, whatever that you're doing, you need to have a balance. And when the balance is off, this is not going to work. So it's a balance. um, Anybody who knows me, that's how I preach as well. Balance. You must balance your life, whether it's your professional and your personal. Of course, sitting here, it's a very difficult thing to do, right? We can't say that it's always will flow, but this is where practice comes in, and you get in your support system. So you must have a balance, and you talk about mental, physical, and those different areas, right? Those different areas, um, and spiritual. It's all going to form
Right.
you. It's going to form
Yeah.
this, and one, and we will say it in different teachings that sometimes you can see the person's energy, you could feel the person's energy is off, their energy is off, because this is one of the aspects that needs to be worked on. So in project management, it's something that I'm working on, which is mindfulness for project managers, and well, it's for leaders as well, and anyone in the field of business people. And I know that's something that Peter will talk a lot about, mindfulness. So it's all about projects. When you want to look at this, you look at it from a project management mindset. You get all the different elements, and you summing it up by saying what is the outcome of it and what are the benefits, and then you have the entire plan. You implement and you go again, right? And don't think you have the perfect plan. Huh? Things are going to change. Things are going to change. Once you keep saying you have the perfect plan, you're going to be off balance. You're going to be off balance at some point. So don't say you have the perfect plan. It will work for a point, and then you have to evolve it again. That's it for me.
Um, those are great points, Shivani. As you you spoke early on. A couple of things came to mind. In marketing, uh, we emphasize the importance of being market oriented. And to be market oriented is to do the research. The reason you do the research is because you want to be market sensitive. You're not sensitive unless you have the data. And the third part is to be responsive. You cannot be clinically responsive unless, again, you have the data. So, three things: market oriented, market sensitive, and market responsive. Now, I'm saying this against the backdrop that these same concepts is relevant to the organization leadership, because you may be in a position of leadership managing your staff, but guess what? You're not sensitive to how well they sit with their sense of self. You're not sensitive to that, so you can't respond to it. And you're asking yourself, why is my team not motivated? Why productivity is this way? Well, that's happening because you are not oriented to your team. You're not sensitive to where your team is at, and you're not responsive. So you're going to start to get what we call absenteeism and staff turnover, because the staff is going to feel that way and they're going to display what we call job hopping, job shifting behavior. So all of this ties into it, and later on we're going to go much deeper into this because we're now getting warm up here. So I now want to turn to Paul. Paul, do give us your closing remarks and also take some extra time to talk to us about the money, about the money, money, money. All to you, my friend.
Okay. I hope this makes sense. I'm just going to ramble because I'm going to try to put a couple things together here. And I made a decision, two decisions. I made up a new word, the simplifier. Okay.
Simplifier.
Yeah. Like I'm
I
going to
like
try
that.
to, like when we're talking about things, I'm going to try to boil them down. Like what some of my comments and statements will be, like just boiling them down to the essence of what they really are and what do you do.
Yeah.
What came first? Self-mastery or mastering a subject? What comes first for people? I don't think a little baby, a little 7, 8-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old learns to master their self first. I think that they master a subject and then they understand self-mastery is going to come after that to make them better. You got a kid in junior high or high school. He's a wrestler. He becomes really good at it, right? Then, after he becomes really good at it, he recognizes for me to advance and get way better and be a champion, I have to exercise every day. I have to eat right. I have to do this. I have to go to train. I have to, follow my coach's advice. So I think self mastery comes after you get interest in a subject that you want to master. And let's talk about let's make this simple. Let's boil this down. How do you master a subject? Well, you got to put time, effort in. Go
Just
ahead.
before you come to the subject, Paul,
Yeah.
you're right. And I just want to add, the process of self mastery is a process. It's a never ending process.
Mm-hmm.
A never ending process, because we can only get better and better and better with time. We are never at the peak of where we can be. We can be better. So that's a good point that you made there. Love it. Go on.
Thanks. I just want to make this real simple as to describe how somebody can do this, because the point of what we're talking about is to give people the information, inspire them, and say, do it.
Yep.
So how do they go do it? How do you go do a thing? Let's pick an example. Okay. You're a kid. You got your dad buys you your first motorcycle. I'll tell you my story. My dad bought me 2 3-wheelers, a small one, then a bigger one. But those 3-wheelers, you didn't use a clutch. You didn't really need momentum to stay upright because it's got 3 wheels. You just go forward and you're not going to tip over unless you get crazy. You can tip over. But on a motorcycle, transitioning from the automatic no clutch 3-wheelers to a actual motorcycle, there's a clutch. That's an extra factor. I didn't know how to operate the clutch. I popped the clutch while revving the throttle and ran into my parents' house. All right. But how does somebody master something? You've got somebody who's already done it telling you how to do it. You let it. That was my dad. You give it a little bit of gas, a little bit of throttle, hold it steady, let the clutch out slowly. There's a point of engagement. You'll start going forward. So to master something, you need somebody who's been there showing you how to do it. What are the basics? What are the advanced basics? How does this progress? And then you get the confidence, because once you do it, you recognize this is how it works. This isn't hard. This is simple. And let's relate that to the motorcycle. A little bit of gas, You go past that point of engagement, the motorcycle starts moving forward. Well, if you're on two wheels and you're moving forward at 1 or 2 miles an hour, yeah, you can stay upright if you're good, but speed, going a little faster, keeping a pace, momentum keeps you upright when you're on two wheels. So you get that momentum, you're going forward. That momentum gives you confidence. I'm not falling. I can do this. I didn't fall. And then you fall because you hit a rock. No big deal. You get back up, kickstart the bike again, boom, get it going. You've got the momentum going forward. That's a mistake. You hit a rock. So, I mean, I don't know if this makes sense. I'm trying to tie it all in. To me, it makes sense. But you learn, how do you master something? You first, you just do it. You listen to somebody, you got somebody teaching you how to do it. And then the mistakes that happen along the way, when you hit those rocks and you fall down, what does it matter? It doesn't matter. You had a helmet on, you made some safety allowances, you pre-planned. So that's my simplified version of how you master something. By just doing it, it doesn't hurt. Momentum helps you, and don't worry about falling down because it doesn't matter.
It's part of the process.
Yeah,
And I love that. I may call you Mr. Paul the Simplifier.
I'll take it.
And the word do exist, all right? But great points. Paul, can you talk to us about a little bit about financial instruments?
Mhm.
At the beginning of this program, we did mention that we are now preparing to open doors to work with 100 loan brokers. And what we will do is train them to understand financial instruments and position them to be icons in the financial world. And at the same time, position them to start building wealth for themselves. So this is not you working, you know, the regular work. We're going to teach you about money and we're going to position you to attain greatness financially. So, Paul, can you talk to us a little bit about financial instrument? What is possible?
Yes. Well, let's start off by saying, as I said earlier, money is our inventory and we need to get it off the shelves. So
Yep.
that's what we're going to train you to do. You'll be working with us. We'll be there for you all the time. I answer the phone late at night, and we're going to teach you how to get customers who need business owner. Every business owner needs capital. They need equipment and capital. There's no way around it. They all need it. They go to their banks because they think that's the only way to get it, but that's not the case. There's companies like us, like Patriot, that exists, and we have 105 sources. We don't even use all of our sources because we don't need them. We've zeroed in on who we work with. But let's go broad. If we've got 105, every one of those lenders that we represent can recommend five more to us. So I've got 525 lenders. I don't need that many. Now, what do we offer? What do business owners need? They need equipment. In order to get equipment, they're either going to pay cash, go bank finance it, or they should lease it because these types of small details are what we're going to instill in you so you'll know exactly what to say at the right moment. When somebody says to me, why don't I just go to my bank that I've been working with for 20 years? Because your bank doesn't love you. You're a number. They're nice to you, and they're not probably a nice person you deal with, but they don't love you. If they did, they'd do it for free, right? True. So it really boils down to you don't need to be loyal to the bank. You don't need to be. They're not loyal to you. They'll take your house if you don't make the payments. Is that loyalty? No. What we do different than the bank is the lowest cost of money. And equipment leasing is the best way to do it. There's tax advantages, easier approvals, less money down. There's small details. These aren't complicated subjects that we're going to teach you. There's just details. And you have to know the details so you can bring them up when the time is right, when it's necessary. So equipment financing. If you are a landlord and you buy investment properties, single families up to apartment buildings, we have lenders. who only do that. Now, the banks, they do credit cards, they do debit cards, they do auto loans, they do a wide variety of things, and that's fine. But who would you rather work with, a specialist or a generalist? If you're going to a surgeon for surgery, you don't want a foot doctor working on your heart. You want the heart doctor working on your heart. You want a specialist. And that's what we are. We're specialists in finding the least expensive money for in the best terms and the best fit deal structure for your business. We would like to teach you how to do that so we can all make money together. We all want to build wealth together. We're willing to share the information to build this large team so that we can do, we hope, 1,000 deals a year. That would be the goal, obviously. The more, the better. Um, there's other programs you might not have heard of. Factoring helps with cash flow. Purchase order financing. I mentioned these earlier in the show, at the beginning of the show. Capital raises. This is subject knowledge. Don't think that you can't do it. It's simply a subject that you have to learn. It's easy, and we want to teach you how to do it. That's it.
All right. Thanks for that share, Paul. And just to add a little bit to what Paul is saying, we're so concerned about the client who's taking capital. So part of our role is not just to say, hey, we're going to get you access to the different types of financial instruments. That's kudos. We're going to help you to understand financial portfolios. All right. But we're going to work with you in a few other things. We're going to work with you on your master plan, your business master plan, and we're going to work with you on a smart plan to leverage. And why this is important? It is important because we are fully aware that very often when you take debt, you underestimate the gravity of the business. You underestimate the reality of the business, and that debt becomes a liability. And there's where financial institutions, the bank may come in and foreclose on your asset. When you're working with us, we leave certainly no room open for that to happen. All right. Because before you start a business or before you invest into a business, there's a number of things that you need to understand about the market. And this is why we keep talking about data. We're going to sing this tune all the time because we want you to be doing business in the smartest of ways. With data, you understand who is your target market. You understand the viability of your market. You know how to integrate products and services, and you know how to reach that target market. You know the ability and the willingness of the client to pay for your products and services. You need to know all of this. So we're going to bring this and so much more. We're going to also work with you to help you to understand how to mitigate debt. So the client, you have so much of plus, and this is where, Paul is right. Above us caring is more than just talk. We have built out an ecosystem that is going to give you comprehensive financial support. The ability to mitigate debt is not common language, all right? But we're going to make it common among our community because your ability to mitigate debt is going to help you to significantly reduce the cost of capital and attain the kind of financial leverage that you deserve to grow and scale in your business or to live a better quality of life. So whether you're taking capital to invest into a business or you're taking capital to build wealth, we are here for you to give you that broad perspective on how money works, what money is, and how money works, so you can play the game safe. So I just wanted to add to that piece based on what Paul would have said. In conclusion, coming back to our conversation today, the face of self-mastery, I want to say this. You owe it to yourself to be proactive. All right? You want to be proactive. Stop being reactive. But what does it mean to be proactive? It means that you have mastered the art of thinking ahead. And one way to master the art of thinking ahead is to get your master plan. All right? Get the master plan from Peter. Sit down with Shivani. She's going to help you understand how to navigate it. Shivani will talk to Paul to ensure that whatever that plan is going to be funded. All right? It's going to be funded. When you're in the ecosystem, do the research. so you understand the market realities. So, of course, it's not just myself and Shivani and Paul and Peter. Our community is much, much, much bigger than this. We have real estate guru. We have a ton of experts in our team. But thinking ahead enables you to see the future that you want, and it should empower you to take action to embrace that type of future that you want. You owe it to yourself. Take ownership of that. That's what I'm talking about. Take ownership. The second thing that I want to say, get out of the problem zone. There are too many smart people that are stuck in the problem zone. You're not training your mind to see beyond the problem. Why? You don't have a plan. Why? You're not talking to a project management consultant. Three, you don't know how to access money. But guess what? The solution is right here. And you are stuck in the problem zone. There's no reason for you to be stuck in the problem zone when the solution is right in front of you. The last concept that I'm going to say here is master the art of taking informed action. There's a lot of things that you want to do. You may not know how to do it. Don't let that hold you back. There's a lot of things that I don't know. But guess what? You think I allowed that to hold me back? I go out and I start to collaborate with people. I start to partner with people because what I don't know, they don't know. All right? And once you understand sales communication process, you sell, they like your idea because it's not about I winning 100%, but I could win 10%. And I allow everybody else around me to win. It's called informed action. You don't have to know it, but it's about you connecting with mentors and coach and sponsors in a support community that is helping you to achieve it. And that's why I would say that this term, don't hate the game and don't hate the player. Users gotta learn how to play the game. Right? So with that being said, my folks, I really trust that you had fun today on the competitive edge. And I want to say again a big thanks to Peter, Paul, Shivani. Um, it's always a learning experience when I'm with this team of people. Shivani has so much to share in terms of project management, and she's passionate about this. Paul, so much not only to share ideas, but he's a practical person. You're approved, all right. And Peter, he's truly committed to helping you to develop your personal life master plan, family life master plan, community life master plan, and your corporate life master plan. So with that, we are now at Friday. Thank God it's Friday. When you're your own boss, you can't say thank God it's Friday. Can you say it for Shivani? Can we say thank God it's Friday? We work every day, even on Christmas Day. All right. So for some of those folks, I mean, as I said, happy Christmas in advance. And do remember, eat and don't overdo. Spend wisely. And my parting words, I'm going to say this. For 2024 and beyond, I want you to commit to have value that people value. I'll explain what that means later on. I want you to commit to be value that people value. I want you to commit to give value that people value. And I want you to see these things as tools, processes, and systems that can be optimized. I'll explain all of that later on. So just keep following us. Folks, great having you today, and we'll do this again on Monday. But remember also, folks, that we have the High Net Worth Investors Guide coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST. Oh, Monday's Christmas Day, my friends. But Merry Christmas in advance.